Hello friends, my name is Katie from Eternal Flame, and today I thought I'd share with you a pretty lax talk through and flip through of my 2023 Traveler's Company notebook. So if you're interested in seeing how I use this setup to, plan out my garden for 2023, please stick around. Thanks everyone. Before we get right into it, I did want to take this quick moment to thank y'all so very much for taking the time to join me today. As always, if you enjoy the content of this video, I would very much appreciate it if you let me know by giving the video a thumbs up, and of course, making sure you're subscribed. Alrighty, so this is going to be a pretty long, lengthy talk through. I'm going to just take my time and tell you a little bit about why I'm doing this, about my experience with gardening, and so if you will, feel free to go grab a cup of tea or a cold brew like I have here today, and sit back and relax. Alrighty friends, let's get right into it. Alrighty, so you'll probably know from previous videos that I actually drew inspiration from the very natural tones of this beautiful camel cover from the Traveler's Company. So in addition to my limited edition Traveler's Company notebook, the hotel set from 2022, this is actually my very first just regular original book. So you can see here, I actually picked this up off Amazon, and for anything that I picked up on Amazon, I will try to link it in the description box down below if I can find it. Since the last video, I've also added this pen loop that I purchased, not realizing that they're a different type of leather. Let's see if you can kind of see it here. This is more of like a smooth, harder leather. This one's more soft and kind of like a suede feel. But they're the same color. I think when it comes to color matching, I figured, this is actually quite pricey. So I figured since I bought it already and I only have one camel cover only, that I should go ahead and use it. And so I went ahead and tried to fit different types of pens in here, and decided that the Kaweco Special that I picked up actually while I was in Berlin fits so perfectly. You can kind of see how it just glides right in and out. It's actually paired with the EF nib, which the associate at the store was so kind to just swap it out for me in this beautiful gold color. One of my favorite pens. I love Kaweco pens, fountain pens, but specifically this one because it has a much slimmer profile than the Sports, which I love as well. But anyways, so that's what I have here, and yeah, let's get right into it and talk a little bit about that. So before we do, I'm not sure if I mentioned, I was also really inspired by this Happy Planner sticker book that I recently picked up at a closing sale at Joann Fabrics. So it's called Don't Stop Growing. I had a hard time finding this on Amazon, but you can probably find it on the Happy Planner website, and also like Michael's or Joann's. So I have four different inserts in here, so I'm going to recap them very quickly. I have a craft brown folder here I think I'm going to try to, and thank you so much. This actually came from a comment in a previous video, a suggestion to maybe save some of the seed packets during the year and kind of slip them in here. I think that's a great idea, so that's probably something I'm going to do. I actually saw in a video that some people reuse those seed packets at the end of the year when they harvest their own seeds, which I loved. That's definitely some sustainability points there. I have a monthly insert for 23. I have a grid insert, and then in the back I have my weekly insert. So we'll go right into that, I think, very quickly here. So I took a look at this book and realized that it didn't have everything that I needed. Typically with these Happy Planner sticker books, I like to just use what it comes with and kind of keep it simple. Realizing that it didn't have everything I was looking for, I ended up using some of my washi stickers that I picked up from Amazon. I will link those down below as well. And I just had them lying around. I got really into them last year in my Hobonichi planners and spreads. And so I have them in one of these bullet journal boxes that I accumulated over the years. And I just went through it and picked the ones that kind of spoke to me. And so for the month of February, because I can't do much outside in the garden, I picked a lot of the potted plants. And so this looked like the mint-ish, or the herbs that I've been buying at home. So the supermarkets here in New York, like Whole Foods and Trader Joe's, have been rolling out some of their potted herbs, and they've looked really good. So I've been picking up some with the dream of starting an indoor garden, and guys, it's not going very well. But that's okay. That's what inspired this sticker here. And I have some succulents and cacti that have been doing okay, you know, not great. I have some on my kitchen window. I'll see if I can grab some footage for you all. And yeah. So I didn't start until like the 17th, 18th of February. So you see that here. That's when I started to soak my seedlings. So I just had that marked here. I also ordered some floral seeds, some perennial wild cut flower seeds that have worked really well for me in the past. They were from Amazon, so I'll try to link that down below as well. I will say, like, full disclosure, they worked really well the first like 3 years, and then I don't know if it was the seeds getting older, probably a combination of that, as well as me changing the location, because we ended up redoing our driveway. So the spot where it was super sunny and kind of dry, where it was doing really well, was no longer available. And so I started to try to grow wild cut flowers in a super damp and shaded location, and it did not go well the last 2 years. So just throwing that out there. Maybe I will try to find some shade plants, but anyways. Yeah, so I kept it super simple. That's my goal. I picked the sticker from the sticker book here. It says every day is a fresh start. And I used some of my alphabet stamps also from Amazon with some of my just simple stamping ink that I actually got in an Archer and Olive subscription box, where they included an alphabet stamp set, which inspired me to get this one from Amazon. And like, it's so affordable. I wish I got it earlier. So anyways, that's what I have here. It says grow, and I wrote here in the notes section, let's focus on planting the garden, starting seeds, gathering supplies, and cleaning the garden beds, because guys, they need some work. For sure. So that's February for me. My husband and I are so excited, and this is actually a hobby that we both share, which is so sweet to me as well. All right, let's switch quickly into the weekly spreads back here. I only did 2, so I should be able to cover this hopefully fast, and then we'll go right into that bullet journal, I guess, graph insert section. So over here, I'm really sad that I missed a lot of these spreads already in the year, these weekly spreads, so I'm gonna have to find a way to reuse those. If you guys have any ideas, please feel free to, of course, leave them in the comment section down below. I get so much great feedback when I ask you guys for suggestions. I am so appreciative for your engagement, and just, you guys have some great ideas. I really appreciate it. So here you can see again, I used some of those Amazon washi stickers. They kind of look like this, to kind of decorate and add some color to the page. I will say I was a little overwhelmed by the amount of color and variation on the bottom part of this page here, but it was because I was trying to either cover up boo-boos or use a sticker, for example, that says market list, because one of my tasks for this week was to create like a wish list of supplies that I need. Ooh, and I should put a compost bin on here as well, so I'll do that later. And then over here, I was trying to cover some smudges, and because I ordered those cut flower seeds that were supposed to be for bees, there's like a bee rescue pack, a butterfly pack, I thought that this was so appropriate. So in both trying to cover up some smudges from my my Pilot Vanishing Point pen with the Kaveco ink here, I don't know if you can see it. Let's see if I can show you. Can you see the smudging? Yeah, I could kind of see the dots. I was trying to draw away from the eye away from those smudges. But yeah, definitely probably being a little too sensitive there about the smudging. But yeah, so that's what I did. I've also been playing around with some of my very favorite Midori paintable, stamps, and I have them in my Muji drawer, my Muji acrylic drawer that I just pulled out here. And so these are my absolute favorite things in the world, like one of my favorite stationery items. I'm not sponsored in any way. And so I finally got a chance to play around with this one, which has all these headers where it says my favorite, shopping list, which actually I could use, to do, and of course these 4 check boxes, which you'll see I just went ham. I've been using so often. So I used that, and then I also had a chance to use these this monthly one here, where for February, loving that the font is different for every month. And then very lastly, before I set this aside, I actually think that I'll be able to use this one too, because it has the weather, which is something I'm trying to track, like patterns and things this year. And then lastly, I have this Hobonichi just like wooden block stamp. I don't know if it's Hobonichi, but I picked it up from the 1101 site when I put in my 23 planner order. So I use that for this down here, which I'll show you in a second, and set this aside. So this is where I use that monthly stamp, the header to do, and the check boxes, as you can see, and you'll see in the bullet journal section that I used it probably too much. And then the header here as well. And then this is an example of that Hobonichi stamp where it tracks the item, the amount, and your total cost. So I'm just trying to keep track of how much I spend, I guess, on a monthly basis, because realistically, I will probably spend more than, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 different items in 2023. Although maybe my goal should be that I don't. I don't know. So thus far, it looks like we're about at $35-ish for supplies. So I got potting mix, I got seed starting trays, and my flower seeds on Amazon. Over here, because I started on Saturday, I just used that stamp to line it up and mark off the tasks that I wanted to get done yesterday, which was setting goals and making all of the plans. And then over here, this is my to-do list for the week. Alrighty, so that takes us into, oh, also before we move on, so you'll see here, I actually tried to stamp directly onto the paper, and because it's gridded, you could see how crooked it was, which was bothering me, which is why there's this random swatch of like map washi tape there to actually cover that up. So what I did instead was take some of this Muji sticky paper, and I cut it up, I stamped it, and then cut it up into a little square, and then taped it down with some washi tape. So just wanted to share that with you, because that was like a lot of fun, I think. I think that was a nice fix to that boo-boo. I don't know. Alright, so let's go into this next one. So the next one I already set it up, but not too much. Tried to keep it simple. I was really inspired by the sticker that said sunshine on my mind, and I love these flowers. They're so pretty. And then I used this stamp from Meg that I received in Happy Mail, and I don't know, I've just been having so much fun with those wooden stamps, those floral themed wooden stamps. And I used my alphabet stamp from Amazon to just remind myself to stay positive, because I've been under a cloud of gloom, I think, for a little bit for really no reason. I have so much to be grateful for, so very sad. But yeah, and this is, you can kind of see when it doesn't make full contact there. And then I use this little, I guess, is it a trowel or a spear, spade? I don't know. This little shovel, hand shovel, to kind of represent the fact that I hope to get out into the garden on Monday. So hopefully the weather will allow it. Alrighty, so that takes us into this insert here. And I will say that going forward, I'm going to see if there's maybe like a cream colored grid alternative, because I really do love the cream color over this harsh white. But yeah, so I didn't do too much here. I decorated the front very simply with this sticker from the Happy Planner sticker book that says grow where you're planted, and it has like a bucket, a watering can, I guess, full of flowers. And this kind of spoke to me, and I thought it was inspiring. I mean, I love the font too. The loose, like, handwritten font. It kind of reminds me of my own. But this spoke to me because I started gardening when I was in Maryland, and I miss having, like, I don't know, an acre of land, and I miss having space and open air and peace. Sometimes when you hear cars going by, and you know that, like, back in the day, you know, you could barely hear that. And so trading the crickets and the toads or the frogs for, you know, cars was kind of hard in the beginning. And so I guess this meant a lot to me, to grow where you're planted, because my husband and I are actually really grateful for the house that we have and the land that we have. And actually, I'll show you in a second the layout for our garden. Our garden now is actually more productive than the garden we had when we had an acre of land, and that's probably because we had just started that year. I think we had maybe 1-ish, 2 max seasons in that garden, so we didn't really have a lot of time to establish and go from zero to having a garden. But anyways, so basically just being grateful for whatever we do have and making the most of it. That's how I interpreted that. So here on the first page, I kind of got tired, so I didn't decorate this left side, but I basically took a moment first to reflect about how awful 2022 was as a growing season for us, and or growing year. And then I took my reflection from 2022 to set goals for 2023, if that makes sense. So I kind of took the moment to think about why I was so disappointed in our not really in our garden, I guess in my input into the garden last year. So basically I moved to DC temporarily for work, to basically chase those dreams at work, and because of that I basically abandoned my garden and left it all to my husband to keep up with, and he actually did a great job when it came to watering it and harvesting, but I wasn't home to cook and share those things with our friends and dry herbs and things like that. And honestly, like, I think, so my husband and I'm so grateful we bond over gardening. Like, we love gardening, we love eating healthy, we love composting, like all those things we love to do together. And so it probably wasn't easy for him to just do it by himself either. So to his credit, like, he did an excellent job. So I wasn't disappointed in him or our garden itself, because the garden is not the problem. It was the fact that I abandoned my garden. But long story short, we gave up. So even when I moved back from DC, we definitely had the opportunity to grow like fall vegetables and things, and we just didn't take that opportunity. So my number one goal is to never give up. Try something new, which is something my husband and I bond over and love to do every year. Feed our friends and family, which is always my goal, and then have a ton of fun doing it. So those are my overall, like, overarching goals. I used some of my Midori note paper for that. I'm trying to see if I can find it. I usually use it to prop up my Hobonichi weeks when I'm writing. So I used a little bit of that. It's actually garden themed. And then I used one of the stickers from the Happy Planner book here to kind of lay out my more specific and measurable, achievable goals for 23. So those are to build a new garden box, start composting again, spend more time with my husband and my dog outside, make our patio a gathering place. Oh, yeah, I totally messed that up. Let's see if I can correct that really. Oh, excuse me. It should be a gathering place. I added the little extra mark there in the wrong spot. I think this is I was like, how did I mess that up? Okay, there you go. A gathering space, and then read more books about gardening. So there's a little story behind everything that motivates it. The garden box, I have a ton of garden boxes, but I'll show you that in a second. We actually have a bunch of salvaged granite cobblestone that we picked, basically had the contractor save when we redid the driveway and patio. And we want to reuse it to kind of build out a few garden boxes. What it's actually missing here too is to build out a box for the peach tree. So I'll have to add that in some way. And for composting, my husband and I used to compost very successfully, I believe, in Maryland. And then since we moved to New York used to actually collect our food scraps, which was helpful because when we compost in the garden, it's not food scraps, it's typically like garden scraps and leaves. So a balance between the browns and the greens and things like that. So in Maryland, it was kind of awesome. The county, I think it was Baltimore County, did like a event where they were selling compost bins, very simply designed compost bins for a discounted price. I think it was like $30 or so, something ridiculous, in addition to water barrels to kind of just promote composting and being more environmentally friendly at home. And it was such a great opportunity also to learn about composting, what you're allowed to put in. I think if you don't have that type of opportunity, a lot of people just throw anything and everything in the compost pile. So we learned a lot about what you basically you get what you put in, and yeah, you need to balance the browns and the greens. You need to turn it every now and then, and we got so many great benefits from composting in Maryland. But unfortunately, after COVID, so we moved to New York, and then COVID impacted, so New York no longer does pickups for compost, like food scraps, which is really sad. So I think my husband and I are determined to take it back into our own hands and hopefully compost here. We're a little concerned, or I am concerned, that like our neighbors might complain, because we do have like a raccoon issue where they dig through our trash, so that's not going to be easy. But also, if it's just garden scraps, hopefully we won't run into any issues. But because the houses are so close together, we're also afraid that like a neighbor would complain about having an unsightly compost bin right next to their window. Something we can't really avoid. But anyways, that was a long way to make our way, or yeah, into this next spread here. Alrighty, so in this spread, I took the opportunity to kind of very roughly, not drawn to scale, lay out my garden. And so our garden is separated into two large sections right now. There's like this lower portion, this upper portion, and these are these boxes and these little sections are representative of all of the garden boxes that I have. So you can see here, I played around with some of my pens and drew in asparagus. We have a little asparagus bed here that comes back every year. We have a hydrangea bush, which honestly is probably older than I am, but in this back corner, it came with the house. It's so gorgeous. I have this half barrel here that's not doing very well. It's in a pretty shaded, wet area of our yard, of our garden. And so I'm thinking about transplanting it into the front of our garden, or the front of the house, and trying to find another way to repurpose this half barrel. So if you guys have any suggestions, please let me know. As I said, it's kind of damp and kind of shaded because there's this fence here. So I used some of my Simply Gilded washi tape here, this floral washi tape, to mark where I plan on planting some of that perennial wild cut flower seeds. I've tried it in the past, and honestly, it doesn't grow very well there because there's not a lot of sun, and it doesn't get a lot of water, but then when it does, it kind of sits there. I used some of these Amazon washi stickers to mark, for example, here we have kind of like a bushy tree, pretty tall and skinny one here along the fence line, so I marked that there. And then over here we have 3 small garden boxes where I typically put my cucumbers, and I'm trying to think of what I should put in front of the cucumbers there. Not really sure, so I have potatoes as a suggestion because my husband and I love growing potatoes. That's one of our favorite things. So I'm thinking if I put it back there, I can kind of forget it, just leave it there and let it grow wild. And then over here, I used my Tombow, one of my Tombow pens, I don't remember what color it was, to kind of draw blobs to represent the bluestone we have back there that I just used as like a garden stepping pad. And then we have this main garden box here. Yeah, and I just kind of laid out where I kind of want my vegetables, but like it's not really drawn to scale, as I mentioned. And I played around with some of my my Amazon stickers and my brush pens and things, and also some washi tape. This is like Simply Gilded washi tape for my peonies. I thought it kind of looked like a peony, to mark that here. I drew a little spaghetti squash that my husband loves in the fall. And then yeah, I drew a peach here because we have a dwarf peach tree. So yeah, just having fun with it. And this is where the new garden box is supposed to go. I thought this kind of looked like green onions and chives. Just really kind of going wild and letting my heart run wild. Over here, I just used my stamp that I picked up off Amazon to mark the date that I prepared this silly spread. I also have another garden box here. Alrighty, so this takes us into this last spread that I'm going to cover today. Sorry, this is so long. It's almost like 25 minutes now. I'm also going to try to tack on some, I guess, plan with me portion as I filmed a lot of it. So I used a lot of those Amazon washi stickers that I had lying around to just decorate the spread. And I used my Kaweco Sport fountain pen with the Kaweco Midnight Blue ink to kind of just sketch out these headers here very loosely, and then use that paintable Midori checkbox stamp many times, as you can see here, to kind of list out what I want to grow this year. You can see that there's some empty spots, so I'll probably sit down with my husband when we get a chance to kind of think about what he'd like to add to our garden. But for the most part, I think success will be in simplifying. I think every year I have this habit of trying to fit way more into my garden than there is space for. And there's many different methods of gardening. One of them is to kind of squash everything together and kill out any type of weeds, which I did try last year with a lot of success in that sense. So I might do that again, but at the same time, I also want to keep it simple, because at the end of the day, I don't want to add to waste. I want to be able to grow things that my husband and I are going to use and be able to share with our friends and family. So if we don't have those opportunities, I definitely don't want to just put all that effort, water, energy into growing things that are going to end up in a compost bin anyway. What's really exciting here is that we not only have flowers and vegetables, but we also have a lot of fruits too. Our peach tree, our mini peach tree, it's unfortunately ridden every year with this fungus. I don't know what it's called. So I've been reluctant to buy any type of like non-organic fix to it, and so it's just been ridden with the fungus every year. So we haven't actually had a chance to eat the peaches on the tree, but it's really cute. And the funniest thing about it too is that there's this stray kitten that likes to use the tree as a scratching post, which I think is the cutest thing because it's right in the middle of our garden. So that alone was worth the $50 that I paid for the little tree. We also have strawberries. I think we bought a couple blueberry bushes last year, and this year my husband and I both really want to get an outdoor fig tree, but I just have to make sure that it'll grow well in our zone. And see, of course, how much that's going to cost and where we're going to put it, because I'm not really sure. I was actually thinking over here, but it's you know what, it's kind of sunny, shaded, like partial sun, I guess. I don't know. And other than that, there's really no other place for it. I guess here, but like, yeah, I don't know. Anyways, I hope this was helpful. I don't know. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I know this is very different from what I typically share with you all, and it was very in-depth, but I really appreciate it. As you can tell probably from this video, I'm extremely passionate about gardening and composting and all the things that definitely help me to become more one with Earth. And so if you enjoyed this video, I'd really appreciate it if you let me know. If not, maybe I won't share these anymore. Anyways, thank you so very much for taking the time to join me today, and I hope to see you all again soon in the next one. Bye, everyone.